Hey, how are you? Welcome to Adventure in Art. My name is Ben Staley, your resident talking head. It's a good thing that you can't see around the camera. My office is in disarray, and I don't really have time to do this Q&A, but heck, I'm doing it. I'm giving to you. I'm spending my time to answer your questions. Thank you, those of you that submitted questions on YouTube. And then at the end, if we have time, if I don't get too long-winded, let's see, it's 1:15. I'll get to some that were asked on the Instagram. But Instagram. Not the people on there, just the platform. I'm more of a Vero guy myself. Where are we? I have them on my phone here. I'm going to try and speed through these. There's actually some kind of heavy questions. And man, I'm a little distracted. I got a lot going on. I'm flying again in the morning. By the time you see this, I'll be back. You'll probably see this in about a week and a half. But I'm going to try and have it done and uploaded before I even leave. So when I come back, you don't care. I'm packing. I worked yesterday. I worked in LA. Did a TV project in LA. That never happens. It was 100 degrees out. I was up kind of in the hills above LA. I think I sweated like a gallon. I'm not even kidding. I peed only one time all day yesterday. That's how dehydrated I got. I feel like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this shit. All right, questions. Let's get right to it. Various questions from the previous YouTube videos and posts. During these downtimes of your business, what is your process for booking new work? Praying. Now look, I don't have a ton of people that hire me. I've worked largely for the same people over and over the years. And, there's long stretches of work, and then there's stretches, sometimes longer stretches without work, where I do personal projects, I develop things, and I do photography. Occasionally, yesterday was a random thing. Worked for some people I'd never worked for before. One day of work. Kind of interesting. I haven't really done day playing stuff in television in a long time. But what is my process? When I'm getting done with a project, like when I was getting done with Africa, I have an agent. I get in touch with my agent. She doesn't typically get me a lot of work, but she can get me meetings and stuff at networks if I want to sell something. So that's why I have an agent mostly, and she'll negotiate contracts for me when I need that to happen. Although a lot of times I'm working for the same people, so we kind of have a shorthand, and I don't really need an agent for that. I will reach out to people that I know to see what's going on. My agent will reach out, and then I'll just kind of put the feelers out, talk to folks, and things always develop. Usually in the back of my head, there will be projects I've helped sort of get off the ground, and maybe those are actually going to finally go, or things like that. Yeah, I mean, there's no exact science. I hope and I pray and I reach out, and I reach out to my contacts, and things always develop. Artist life, man, it's kind of stressful. I'm not going to lie. I will work, I was 9 weeks in Africa, working hard, feeling pretty good about it, and just looking forward to coming home and having some downtime. And the day I land, I'm like kind of stressed because now I don't have a job. And that's just the way it is. It's feast or famine. Do you have a coaching program for pro photographers, all levels, looking for mentoring, building a successful business and community? No, I don't have a coaching program. I'm probably not going to have a coaching program anytime soon, if ever. I probably am going to start doing some workshops about portrait photography, because that's one thing I think that I can provide some value in. Maybe some other things. It hasn't been announced. I am going to be speaking in New York in September at a little thing that B&H is putting on. So I will definitely let you guys know about that. That's coming up. It's not a coaching thing. I'm going to be doing a couple little seminars and maybe doing a photo walk. More details on that. I don't even know the details yet. It's happening though. But I don't have any coaching programs or aspirations to create one. I don't have time. And if I did have time, I mean, I could, but I just don't. I don't know. That's not something I want to build, and I don't see the value there. Although maybe it would be cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out on something. I don't know. A dear friend has just gifted me with a Nikon D700 and I'm hungry to delve into photography once again. What's the best way to start? What software should I get? How best to learn the camera? This camera is much more complicated than the simple Minolta I had back in the day with the manual focus and settings. Yeah. What camera would you recommend to get going with? I'm afraid a Leica is out of my reach. That's a lot of questions. I mean, that's really like 10 questions. Maybe not 10, maybe it's 6 or 8. D700 is an awesome camera. I mean, that's like probably a 15-year-old camera or something. Pro level, prosumer, high prosumer level Nikon camera. Awesome. Just get that. Get a 50mm lens. Get Lightroom. Go shoot. And yes, it's a complicated camera. It's not complicated. You set the ISO, which would be like your film speed. You figure out what aperture and what shutter speed you want to expose with, and then you're off to the races. And it does all this other crap, but you don't even need to worry about that. It doesn't matter. Get one lens, one camera, go shoot for a year. You're going to learn. Yes, it's more complicated than your old film Minolta. Yes, Lightroom's easy. You can figure it out in about an hour. If not, you can watch some tutorials on YouTube. All this stuff's easy to figure out. The information's there. You got a D700, someone gave you that? That's an awesome camera. That was a prized camera in its day, and I'd love to have a D700. I wish somebody would give me one. I'd have it laying around, and I'd go use the damn thing. Pro Nikons are awesome. Bravo. What else do you need to know? Go take some pictures. You don't need a Leica. Leicas are cool. You don't need a Leica to take good pictures. Use that 15-year-old Nikon. You're going to take awesome pictures. Get yourself a thrifty 50, a 50mm 1.8. It's going to cost you about $110 or something. Maybe less, maybe a little more. You find one on eBay. 50mm 1.8. Go out, take some pictures. I dare you. If you can't take a good picture with that setup, your D700 and a 50 1.8, you got bigger problems than the camera. Did I get my point across? I'm feeling a little spicy. Hang on. Of course, both of these things are important, but which is more important in professional photography, skill or attitude? Okay, skill or attitude? Skill, attitude, skill, attitude, skill, attitude, skill, attitude, skill or attitude. Look, if you want to be a professional, you've got to have skill. You cannot be professional without skill. You can't accidentally do professional work. I mean, maybe for one day you could. Maybe if you get lucky, you could accidentally look like a pro for a day. But what skill gives you is repeatability. If you have the skill, you can duplicate, you can repeat your results. You're making conscious decisions. Ooh, am I close enough to my mic? I realize I should probably just stay still. My mic is right here. Yes, anyways, repeatability. That's what a pro can do. You can count on a pro to show up and they are going to get results for you. They're going to deliver for you. Are they going to have a good attitude? Well, they should. Attitude is really, really important. But if you don't have the skills, you're not going to go very far at all. You've definitely got to have the skills. Attitude across the board, very important. Skills, the most important thing out of those two if you're a professional. What else do I need to say? This is a heavy one here. Okay, here we go. Are you spiritual? Otherwise, how do you commit? How do you face difficult situations and just put yourself through them without bitching out? How do you embrace the uncomfortability? How do you constantly conquer your fear related to your art job and avoid falling into the comfort zone? It's the only thing that keeps me being successful as an artist, I believe. It's so hard to get out of my own head and limitations and conquer my fear. I mean, I'm actually facing it many times and get out of my comfort zone a lot, But also, many times, I just find excuses. How can I keep myself accountable most of the time? Any advice? That's like 15 questions in. You guys are asking like questions that are like 15 questions. I'm charging more next time. You guys are getting the bargain here. Am I spiritual? I don't know what that word means. I feel like that word is bandied about. It's used carelessly. It's used casually. Do I practice a religion? No, I don't. Am I spiritual? Meaning, do I believe in a higher power? Do I believe... I don't know about a higher power. Although I'm pretty damn humble. I think there's a lot of higher powers. Like, what are we talking about here? Is there something going on that we don't quite understand? Oh, definitely. Are there powers and energy sources and vibrations and connections and interconnections that we, with our tiny little Homo sapien brains, can't understand? Most definitely. There is some stuff going on, people, and we're clued into about that much of it. We think we're so smart. We have these little computers in our pocket and we have all these toys and we can do all this stuff and we can get in our car and drive 80 miles an hour down the freeway, and aren't we awesome? We don't know jack shit, and that's the truth. Is there something going on out there? Is there a higher intelligence? Is there something going on? Yes, there is. Do I know what it is? I do not. But I recognize that there is so much that I don't know. There is so much that's mysterious and unknowable. And I'm okay with that. And occasionally you connect to that unknowable energy source. Some people call it God. Some people call it the universe. People call it all kinds of things. I'm not concerned with names or definitions. I only know that there's a lot that I don't know. A lot. And I stand humble before the world and the universe, trying to soak up as much knowledge as I can, trying to be the best person I can, trying to treat my fellow man and woman the way I want to be treated, with kindness, with compassion, with respect, with dignity. I aspire to that. I'm trying to make myself into the best version of me that I can be, failing at that most of the time, but trying really hard most of the time. I don't know. I don't know if I'm spiritual. Something's going on out there, people. I can feel it. Sometimes you just feel it inside of you vibrating like... I could talk about this some more, but I've said enough. Okay, next question. I love the nonprofit podcast with you after you guys had some plant-induced experience in the desert, connecting to the greater source. Now that the world is more open about psychedelics, maybe you could talk a little about it. Has this experience had an impact on your spirituality and approach to life or in your art? What's your through on that? What's your thought on that, I think is what he meant to say. My friends at Nonprofit, yeah, you should check out the Nonprofit podcast. I've been on there 3-4 times or something, or 5 times. I don't know. Those guys are my friends. They're great photographers and great thinkers. Sometimes we go into the desert, and when we come back, we've changed a little bit. We've connected to the source. That's all I'm going to say. I cherish those moments. What are my thoughts on it? I don't know. Maybe it's something you should do. Then you can tell me what you think. I think you need to do things that scare you sometimes. And I think you need to shed all these concerns that we think are so concerning, but really are not that important. And I think you need to go off into the wilderness with people you love and open yourself to whatever information might want to download into your little brain or your heart or your soul. Yeah, give it a try. Have you ever thought of making your own podcast? I'm sure you know so many interesting people. I think it could be something. Man, love listening to your stories. I've thought about it, but dude, it's such a saturated market, and just like I feel like I have a hard time maintaining consistency with this little YouTube channel. Of course, it takes a lot of effort and editing and time, but just like I feel like I could not consistently do a podcast. Now, if I knew I was going to be in one place for a couple years and had work there and was not going to travel as much, I might think about it. I do know some interesting people. I don't know a lot of celebrities or things like that. You know, I think it's really hard to do a lot of people have started podcasts and they kind of fizzle out, and you have to be consistent. And then there's such a huge wave of content there. How do you rise to the top? Kind of like this YouTube thing. I'm still like barely scratching the surface of it, you know. I'm probably not going to start a podcast anytime soon unless somebody wanted to do it with me, or, you know, maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going to go out of my way and try and start one on my own. I have my hands full with a lot of projects, storytelling projects, writing, shooting, filming, that I'm pretty tapped out right now. I can't really get done everything I want to get done. I'm interested about your workflow when you work on assignments. Not necessarily a step by step, but in terms on time and knowing when to start. What parts do you gather before starting? Do you follow a pattern or do you improvise? My work on assignments. Okay. Whatever assignment I have, I try and get as much information as I can beforehand. And then I try and do this, sometimes you get an assignment and it's go. And that's pretty common. But as much lead time as I have, I will begin collecting information, and then I'll begin kind of outlining that information, probably on a note, the note thing, the little note app on my phone, which I use a lot because it's shared between my laptop and my phone. And so wherever I'm at working, I generally will just start a file and I'll just begin jotting things down that interest me. Words, quotes, phrases, locations, whatever, maybe an outline of structure, story structure. And then I just kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do. And all that might get thrown out and it might not be applicable later when I'm out there in the field getting my hands dirty. But that's generally what I do. If I'm going to direct a music video or something like that, I'll definitely write a treatment and try and have an outline. If I'm going to do a doc or something, I'll try and have some kind of loose structure in my head, even though that may go out the window. If there's other talent involved, on camera people, I'll call them up, try and have phone conversations, try and get as much information ahead of time as I possibly can. Sometimes I owe a creative document, deck, whatever, pitch to whoever my clients are before I go do a job. So I have to actually have an outline of what I'm going to do and I have to put that together. A lot of times that's part of the job and I spend a few days or a few weeks building that before I even go out into the field. It just depends, man. I do such a wide variety of things. I could talk more about this. Does this interest you? Is this something I should talk about in the future? Is it relevant? Does it help you? I don't know. I will if you want, but that's the general kind of Reader's Digest version. How long should a portrait session be? How long do you spend at the studio with a subject? How much time is needed to connect on a deeper level? Look, you could spend 5 minutes. You could spend 5 hours. Maybe you get the same result with either. Maybe one of them 5 hours is required. That's a long time. 5 minutes? Maybe. There's when I read this question, I was thinking about this photographer that I really like, Mark Mann. He's a portrait photographer. Look him up. He's on Instagram or look up his website. Shoots editorial style portraits, mostly of celebrities, the most famous people that are on the planet. He shoots them all. Lovely guy. Great. We follow each other on the social channels, but we've never met, although I think we may. I feel like it's going to happen. He's one of my favorite photographers, portrait photographers. He's got a little YouTube channel, which, will I link it below? No, just search for Mark, man. It's out there. If you care, search for it. You'll find it. But he, one of his videos, I think it was in the video, or maybe I saw a video of him somewhere, and he photographed President Obama when Obama was in the White House. And now this is a fairly common, if you have a really high profile individual, sometimes if you're tasked with the assignment of capturing their portrait, you may only have a couple minutes. I think he had 5 minutes or something with Obama. Maybe he had less. Maybe he had 1 minute. So you show up, you set up your lights, you test everything out, you know it's going. Boom, the clock's ticking down. When's the guy going to show up? He walks in the room. You have maybe a minute. You can rack off a dozen shots maybe 2 or 3, maybe 6 or 8, maybe 10 or 12. I don't know. And then you're done, and that's all you have. Now, do you have really time to connect there? Are you going to make a deep connection? You're going to make some kind of connection. You're going to exchange brief pleasantries, but you got to have your dialed. 5 minutes. 1 minute. I saw another photographer was tasked with shooting actress Jennifer Lawrence, and same kind of deal. All right, you got a minute. She's going to come in the room, you're going to take her picture, and she's gone. So you better have everything set up and ready to go. Now, the kind of photography that I do, slightly less famous people most of the time. Occasionally I'll shoot somebody pretty famous. But generally what I do is, it's a process. We have a little more time. We're trying things out. It's experimental. I don't know, man. It depends on the person. There's no right answer here. Everyone's different. You better start developing the skill of learning how to connect or break the ice with someone or set them at ease as quickly as possible. You want to have no barriers between you and them. You want everything that you're vibrating and putting out, the energy you're expelling towards that person, you want that to be welcoming, inviting, safe. And you want them to feel like you are confident, not egotistical, not toxic in any way. So all those things, and it takes time. You have to vibrate that energy outwards. If you're any kind of decent photographer, you should be able to scan around a room, assess the light in the right spot. Okay, by that window over there is great light. Okay, hey, let's stand right there. Boom, boom, boom. You should, in the space of a minute, be able to get a pretty darn good photo if you're any kind of photographer. Yeah, that's what I think. How do you decide what aspect ratio you use per subject? I try to stick with 16:9 or 2:3 standing up, but for portraits, 16:9 is a challenge sometimes. Any thoughts on that? I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'll do square. Sometimes I like uber widescreen images because I'm a kind of a movie guy and I like cinematic looking images with a cinematic aesthetic. One thing I have not been so great at with my work is having consistent aspect ratios. Maybe that's something I could work on. Generally, I'll look at an image and I'll kind of go, should this be wide? Should it be narrow? Should it be square? I don't know. I kind of decide that when I'm taking the picture generally. That's when I decide. But sometimes you discover things later on in an image. Yeah, sorry, can't help you more there. I don't have a real intelligent answer. This is why I don't have a professional coaching program. Let's go to some of the questions on Instagram. We're going to try and just fly through these. What is your least favorite thing about photography? Editing the images on a computer, sitting in front of a computer. I don't like that. What do you miss about your Leica Q2? Oh, it's a great carry everywhere camera. Very tough, very sturdy. I like the lens. I do miss it occasionally, but I don't think about it too much. But I think there's really value in having a small camera with a single lens and just having that everywhere. I don't have that right now the same way. I'm kind of missing that. Did the use of Micro Four Thirds on your trip to Africa leave you wishing or wanting more? I think ultimately I prefer full frame cameras, shallower depth of field, the aesthetic. But what I love about the Micro Four Thirds is they're so small and you can have a whole bunch of lenses with you, and they're small and they're very powerful. Remarkably so, much more than when I owned Micro Four Thirds cameras like over a decade ago. So did they leave me wanting more? Yeah, I like long lenses with a full frame sensor, and I like that look. I don't quite get it the same way out of a Micro Four Thirds. Yeah. How are you feeling? A little bit spicy right now, and I have a whole lot to do, so I'm feeling like I need to get this Q&A done. Thanks, Dufflo. Any plans for another photography walk in the woods? Let's go. Bring it. Who wants to go for a photography walk in the woods? If you do, and if you're willing to come to LA, I'll host a photography walk in the woods. Let's effing go. And if you're in New York, I'm probably going to do a photo walk sometime in early September. So just put that in your little calendar and keep it on the back burner. And if you happen to be in New York City the first week of September, maybe we'll do a photo walk. Do you carry on your camera gear? If yes, in what? Yes, I carry on my camera gear. Dude, travel is stressful for me. I have a backpack that I take, which I usually put my camera bodies in that. It's on my back. It's padded. I protect that. If I'm taking more stuff like a drone and a lot more batteries and more bodies and more lenses, I bring this. This guy, see, look at this, fragile. I put stuff in here. This has been all over the world. It was in Africa with me. And then I stress out if I don't get early boarding or if I have a late boarding assignment. Rarely get to travel in like the premium seats, so you're just kind of stuck with everybody in there. And then I have a big heavy backpack and I have that big heavy thing, and then is there going to be room in the overhead for it? And because I'm so big and I can't afford to put anything under the seat in front of me because my legs are long. And then if you're on a 10-hour flight and it just isn't going to work, folks. No, not for, like I'll die. I might die. So I stress about having to carry all this gear on, and yeah, I do. I carry on all my gear. What is your all-time favorite comfort food dessert? The world needs to know. That's from Jillian. Jillian is this really nice lady from Alaska that I work with when I do like Deadliest Catch. Jillian, my All-time favorite comfort food dessert is like when I'm getting off a boat and I go to the Grand Aleutian and I go to the chart room and whatever they're having for a dessert special, I have that and like 2 bottles of wine. And that's like my favorite all-time dessert. Thanks, Jillian. I doubt she's going to watch this. Should I show you a portrait of No, I'm not going to show you. Badass Alaskan lady, though. What have changed, improved about your photography over the years? Probably everything. I do know that I pay more attention to a lot of details and things in the frame than I used to in terms of just trying to get a composition or especially shooting people, hairs in the way, and just like little things that I used to not notice because I was just worried about depth of field and focus and framing and all that stuff. Well, now I'm looking at all the small things in the frame, and I didn't used to do that as much. And then later I'd be like, dude, didn't you see that? Well, I screwed up enough times that now I'm noticing things like that. And yeah, that feels good. How do you organize your photo video archive? Do you have a specific system? Yes, I do have a system. I have these working drives that I use. Once I fill up the working drive, I retire it and I get a new one, and then I back up everything on the work drive onto this big master drive. So I have everything double backed up, and I have folders for video, folders for stills, and I organize everything by date and name, so I can basically go back and I kind of know, okay, well, I shot this in 2018. I can just go back and easily find it by date. That's kind of how I do it. That's the Reader's Digest version. Who are your idols or mentors in photography? Any quotes that inspire you? I don't have any quotes in my head, but honestly, I like photographing people so much, and my favorite photographer is probably Peter Lindbergh. Just because of the raw nature of his images and how just authentic they feel. They just really make me feel something. I really like that guy's work. There's a lot of amazing, technical, brilliant photographers, but I think his images are just simple and raw and authentic, just stripped down, and they just whatever he was doing, he really was a master at capturing the essence of someone and making you feel something about them. I think the way these little weird sets that he would make and these light coves and his whole process, really interesting. I did see some videos of him he's dead now. He died a couple years ago, but there's videos of him on YouTube, and he just shoots like a lot of frames. So he's just high speed digital cameras, probably higher speed cameras back in the film days. Probably went through a lot of film, shooting a lot of frames to get these little magical moments where everything is just kind of right. The hair, the wind, the clothing, the pose, just really kind of taking frames out of very active scenes for the most part. Really cool. You know who Peter Lindbergh is. Look at his work. You've seen it all. It's all the supermodels in the 90s. Kind of a 90s guy. That's the era that I hearken back to. Music and everything. Been listening to CDs in my Forerunner lately, like 90s CDs. It's been pretty dope. Temple of the Dog. Yes. What do you shoot for? What is your deeper drive? I just like it, man. I just like taking pictures. I just want to wow, what does this look like? It's about curiosity. I'm curious, man. I want to what does this look like? I want to know. Sometimes I take pictures to figure out what I'm feeling. Sometimes a picture is the only way I can really feel like I'm expressing myself. Yeah. Many studio shoots lately. Looking forward to seeing your creativity there in the near future. I shot in the studio 2 nights ago. A few days before that, I shot at the Sepulveda Dam. And a few days before that, I shot out in the woods at my little abandoned highway location. So I've done 3 shoots lately. Only the last one was in my studio, but you're probably going to see videos on all those coming up. Done some work that I'm pretty stoked about. And there's more coming up. It's just so freaking hot out. It's so hard right now to shoot outside. It's 100 degrees. And if I wait till the last hour of the day, which is when the light's good, 7 o'clock, it's still in the upper 90s. It's almost unbearable. Do you prefer to shoot wide open or no more than 5.6? Why would you buy a 1.4 lens if you're not going to shoot a 1.4? When do we get to go shooting again? Oh, this is the last one. It's Charlie. That's from Charlie S. Charlie and I just did, you guys know Charlie if you watch the channel. Charlie's my bro in Alaska. We just did a trip up there. There's videos about that coming up too. Oh, I can't wait till you see it. Charlie, bro, I hope we do something again soon. That's it. How's that mic doing? Yeah, all right, I gotta get to work. Enough jabbity jabbing. That's it. Thanks for the questions, and I'm gonna try and do this a couple times a year. I don't know. The Q&As are never that popular, but if you guys want me to do them, I'll do them. I don't mind. This is like an easy video for me. The editing is easy, so I'm happy to do it. I'm going to Oregon tomorrow to, you remember last year when I had a couple videos at that kind of festival, Camp Out Festival in Oregon? Well, I'm going to do that again. Are there going to be videos about it? Probably not this year, but I'm going to camp out myself, and I don't know. It's going to be an adventure. There may be some mind-altering substances involved, what we talked about earlier. I don't know, maybe not. I don't really know. But that's where I'm going tomorrow, and then I'll be back, and there's some bunch of videos coming. So thanks for watching, folks. Get out there and make something. You got everything you need right inside of you. Don't worry about not having the latest, greatest, best camera that they say you need to have. Get yourself a 15-year-old D700. Get on eBay. Find something awesome. Find one lens. Just use that. Go out and just show the world what you can do with this simple, older camera. Don't frickin' worry about having the newest, latest crap. Just go make some art. That's all you gotta do. It doesn't need to be a Leica. It doesn't need to be a Canon or a Nikon or a Fujifilm or a Sony or whatever. Just take whatever you've got, whatever you can get, whatever you can beg, borrow, or steal. No, don't steal it. Don't steal it. But don't stress about having the newest, latest thing. That's not a barrier for your creativity. Your limitations are what define your creativity. Get after it. Peace out.